The best tabletop RPG for beginners is one of the most common questions that you may get from new players who are just coming into tabletop RPGs is, what is the best tabletop RPG for beginners? I want to answer that question today, but before I do, I need to preface this by saying that I'm going to answer this from an RPG Elite perspective. Of course, right? This is RPG Elite. What do we do here? We focus on putting the RP back in the RPG. How does your intrepid host, Servant of Shiloh, do that? Well, we do that by giving you tools, tips, tutorials, and real talk about the tabletop RPG space and culture. And today is one big long tip video for all of you people out there who might be brand new to tabletop RPGs. I've been noticing just a couple of comments of people saying, hey, I just got into tabletop RPGs and I just found your channel. So I wanted to do our new players a service. First, I want to welcome you to this great hobby because this is going to be years of fun. If you do it right, it's going to be years of fun for you. But it's more than just fun because, quite frankly, fun is not enough. But I'll get to that in a second. And let's go to answer this question. But before we do that, we actually have to ask a couple other questions first to kind of lay a foundation. And these are some basic questions that absolutely need to be answered, and they need to be answered in the right way. But again, we're going to answer these as in RPG Elite. This is not going to be kind of like the run-of-the-mill, mediocre, what everybody else is saying type of deal. It's going to be from an RPG Elite perspective. So let's go ahead and let's roll them by answering the first foundational question you should ask before you ask that question. Yes, you have to answer the question of what is a tabletop RPG. If you have no idea what you're getting into, you're kind of going to be floundering and lost on what to do as you're playing a tabletop RPG. But again, how I am going to answer this is from an RPG Elite perspective. So keep that in mind throughout this series. I'm going to keep repeating that because most people tend to forget that that's what I'm saying, kind of skip over it and make silly comments. So let's not do that and pay attention. All right, Uncle Servant giving you some tough love there. A tabletop RPG is a storytelling art form where the players take on the persona of an individual and uses that persona to express their creativity and imagination to add their part of the story. That is what a tabletop RPG is for an RPG Elite. The persona is what we're going to focus on here and put all of our creativity and imagination. The persona is the focus. And the reason why the persona is the focus is because the story is the focus. Because if you know anything about an RPG Elite, when it comes to a tabletop RPG, it's about the story. Which is why we look at this as a storytelling art form. So for us, it's not just a game. It just happens within the confines and in the context of a game with a rule set and all the rest of that. But really, we just use the rules to inform us on how we're going to use our persona. That's it. Now that we have defined what a tabletop RPG is from an RPG Elite perspective, we have one more question before we get to the question. And this is a question that most people don't even ask and probably have never asked in all their years of playing tabletop RPGs, or if they have asked it, they've given you a answer that is, well, let's go to the question. Now, the answer to this question is almost assumed. It's almost assumed that everybody's playing for the same reason, and that's not true. An RPG Elite is playing for a very different reason than many people. And the answer to this question, and I've been hearing this for decades, The answer for this question is, well, you just play to have fun. Well, remember just recently, I just said, fun is not enough, not for an RPG elite. It's not enough. It's not why we play tabletop RPGs, and you have to answer this question for yourself. Why are you playing tabletop RPGs? Because normally when you talk about fun, you're talking about some kind of hedonistic, vain, many times vacuous experience at the table. It means nothing. Yeah, everybody's laughing at every couple of seconds because we're just getting together. It's just a grand waste of time, which if you've been following this channel and the RPG Elite philosophy videos for any amount of time, you will know that time is something that RPG elites cherish, and we don't like wasting it. And we figure that those kinds of people we are not going to play with because they're going to waste our time. And that is not what we want to do. So from an RPG elite perspective, the reason we play tabletop RPGs is because we want to create good stories. That's why we're at the table. It's not just fun. Fun is that dopamine hit and that, endorphin release thing. Okay, that's there, but that's not why we play. We want to create stories. Now, why do we want to create stories? We want to create stories because we want to have something with substance. We want something that's going to be memorable. We want to talk about those things that matter. And we want to talk about them through our personas and through the stories that we create together. We're going to form connections as we create stories. Because for an RPG elite, it is about the story and having memorable moments that we can go back to. And actually having these moments have some kind of substance and meaning in our lives overall. We've spent hours upon hours upon hours in these places of imagination that it needs to be just a little bit more than some vacuous experience that's here for the moment so we can get our little dopamine hit and then gone, and then we just have to come back every time because we just want to have fun. It needs to be more than that for an RPG elite. And you need, as a beginner from the get, you need to ask yourself, why exactly am I playing? It could be for those vacuous reasons that I just talked about, but at least ask the question, because that is going to determine your experience as you begin in this hobby. I'm telling you, it's going to determine your experience, and depending on what your flavor is, you need to define that, the why of your playing tabletop RPG. All right, we have come to the actual question. Let's go. The best tabletop RPG for beginners is the one that you can tailor make that will help you in expressing your definition of tabletop RPGs and why you are playing. Now, a key to this is custom make. Now, you can pretty much do that with any, but there are some that are for that purpose specifically. And they're not games per se in certain genres. They are systems you can use. And that is why I suggest that the best tabletop RPG for a beginner is the one that is a system so you can switch to whatever you want to play at whatever time that you want to play it, whether it be today or for these couple of months. I'm hot on superheroes, right? Everybody knows that I'm always hot on superheroes in this house, know what I mean? So, hey, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna play superhero campaign, and we'll do that for the next 6 months. And maybe for the next 6 months after that, let's switch it up a little bit. Let's do a little bit of sci-fi, man. Let's do some sci-fi. And so we're gonna switch it up to sci-fi, where instead of having to go out and buy a new game, you can go out and just create a new setting or buy a new setting. You already know the core of the game. You've got that set, and it's easier for you as a beginner. Now, maybe later on, you can go and just buy specific games and learn other systems. That's fine. But when you are beginning, it's good to just stick with one system, get to know that system, be able to play whatever you want to play without having to switch to a new system just because you're switching the genre. And then once you've got that down pat, then you can graduate. All right, so I'm going to give you 3 systems that I suggest for you to play with. There are more, but these are the 3 I think are the best for beginners, that you can really tailor make them however you want to make them. And then you can go ahead and play in whatever genre that you want to play. Whatever floats your boat, your wants and your desires in terms of the experience that you're trying to create in tabletop RPGs, this is going to be the best game for you as a beginner. And just frankly, this is going to be the best game for you as a player, period. So let's go ahead and let's do this. The first out of this bunch is one that is the newest to the bunch as well. And the book came out around 2020, couple years ago from the making of this video, so about 3-4 years ago. It is called the Cortex Prime system. Now, how I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to define really quick how the system works. Then you can go and, do your due diligence in terms of the research that you would want to do and seeing if that is going to be the system for you that you want to stay with and learn and kind of play all kinds of different things with. The Cortex Prime system just works like this. You have an opposing target number that's always fluctuating that you have to beat, that the GM rolls. That's it. That's if you want to get bare bones, that's it, right? So let's say, and we're just going to do D6, right? The GM is going to determine your target number from how challenging whatever it is that you need to do is. And so if it's very easy, they'll roll 1d6. If it is challenging in the medium, moderate range, it'll be 2d6. If it's kind of challenging and hard, it'll be 3d6. But in either case, no matter what you do and no matter how many dice that you roll, you are always going to just be adding up 2 dice and that's it. No heavy math, nothing like that. 2 dice, add it up, that's the target number you have to beat. For the player, they can add together things called plot points to add another dice, or they can use a trait that can add another dice, or they can just use the base. The base that they get to roll are always 2 die. A trait is going to add another die. A plot point is going to add another die. These are all different things within the game. But then you roll and you're just going to take the highest 2. If it beats the number that the GM rolled, guess what? You did it. And that is the basis of that system. Yeah, there are a whole bunch of little nuances and things that you can add and kind of create that you want to have in your particular tabletop RPG experience. The one thing that you don't want to do is have somebody railroad you into playing a game because everybody else is playing it. Okay, think for yourself, don't be programmed. And don't settle. That's the Cortex Prime system. It's easy, it's modular, you can mold and mesh this however you want to get the game that you want and create the stories that you really want to create. The next system on the list is the Savage World system. Very easy system here. Basically, again, I'm going to break it down to you in the most bare bones way that possible. The target number is always 4. Roll higher than 4 and you succeed. That is the meat and potatoes, y'all. Now, of course, there are myriad other things that go along with that, but you roll the different dice that you need to roll, whether it be an 8-sider and a 6-sider, or a 10-sider and a 6-sider, or something like that. Normally, it's going to be a few dice, but you're only going to read the highest number off of 1 die. If that number beats the number 4, which is the target number, you've succeeded. If you roll the highest number on a die, you get to re-roll that die and add it to the result. That's the basis of Savage World. It's really simple. Very simple, very flexible, whole lot of things that you can create with it, whole bunch of systems that are already out for like superheroes and westerns and science fiction and whatever genre that you would like. So if you don't have the time to create all that stuff, hey, somebody had already done it, created it for you. You can tweak it however you like and go about your business, and you don't have to change your system. You always have that base system that's simple, and you can be ready to go and create it for your stories that you want to tell. I've saved the best for last. Of course, yes, I am being totally subjective right now, but I really do believe that this is the best out of all of these. And it's not like I don't like those other ones, because I'll do those other ones, man. On a serious tip, I will go ahead and I will do those because I think that those are good systems and they're simpler systems for a beginner. But I think the best one out of this is going to be the Cypher system. The Cypher system is very easy. It works off of a D20 system with a difficulty table and raising and lowering levels and all the rest of that. I'm not gonna get too much into it because I've already done a complete video on this. I'll have links for that down in the description below. So you can go ahead and watch that video, the one where I explain about the Cypher system in less than 10 minutes or a little bit over 10 minutes maybe for the whole video. Go ahead and hit that link down below after you get done watching this video, because we're not done. But the Cypher system is another system that I would suggest. Now, some of you might be saying, well, why didn't you mention some of the other systems? Because there are more systems out there. These are the systems that I think are best for beginners, that are simple enough to grasp the basics, but have enough leeway for you to grow in whatever direction that you want to grow. I think these are the better systems. Now, there are some other systems like out there, like the basic role-playing universal game engine. That's another one. That's by Chaosium. Or you have, GURPS, the generic universal role-playing system. Or you have Rifts and stuff like that. If I wouldn't suggest those to players who are beginning players. I just wouldn't. Far too many math that you have to do, and I know a lot of people don't get into that. If that's your deal though, now hear me out. If that is your deal, then you can try out those systems if that's your deal and that's what you like to do. But again, as a beginner, I really suggest that you grab either Cortex Prime or Savage Worlds or the Cypher system. And I'm gonna put an emphasis on that last one. The Cypher system, I believe, is the best out of all those systems, with Savage Worlds coming in and Cortex Prime being in there as well. As long as you have your definition and your why for playing tabletop RPGs, you're good to go. But that's gonna be the best for you. Instead of specific games, you can graduate up to those later where learning a system is not gonna be all that big of a deal, and you'll understand how to do it and do it relatively fast. That's the best tabletop RPG for beginners from an RPG elite perspective. If you got any value out of this video today, it turned you in the right direction and now you at least know where to go, then could you do a brother a solid? Can you do me a little itty bitty favor and give a brother a little YouTube algorithm love and crush that like button? Also, hey, if this is your first time, you want to stick around, y'all, I'll have other videos like this. I like having these tip videos kind of to help you guys out from an RPG elite perspective, and you'll get a wider understanding of the whole mindset of an RPG elite. And if you want to stick around for that, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. The question of the vid is actually asked earlier. It's one of the major questions. Why do you play tabletop RPGs? Why do you play tabletop RPG? A lot of people will be like, oh, it's just fun, and that's what it is. Go ahead and put it in the comments, but I'd like to know a little bit more specifics. I want you to take some time to actually think about that question before you answer. And I'd love to hear what your answer is down in the comments. That's it. That'll do it. Time for me to go, y'all. Time for me to do my snaggle puss.
So exit, stage left.
Hey, if you've got a game this week, Happy gaming. I pray it is an RPG Elite session. And until next time, God willing, on Friday, getting back into classic tabletop RPG Friday. We don't do it like Brutus because you always knew this. And until then, peace, 5,000 elites. I am outie.